around the barbecue, braai, or in the pub, there have been many debates as to whether the modern game of rugby is better than in the pre-professional era. There is traditionalists that prefer rugby as it was played in the amateur era, and in the other corner, those that argue that the game today is better, faster, and with less interruptions. Stats Perform must come to our assistance in providing an answer to the debate. They harnessed their Rugby World Cup database to meticulously analyze all 374 World Cup matches spanning from 1987 to 2019. This comprehensive study offers insights into the shifting performance dynamics of the game and its implications for teams and players. Through this extensive World Cup data, they delved into the profound revolutionization of rugby. The rapid evolution of rugby union can be attributed to several key factors. Frequent revisions of the laws and the momentous decision to professionalize the sport in 1995 have spurred transformative changes across the rugby landscape. Before looking at their findings, let's delve deeper into Stats Perform's background. They've emerged as a pioneering force in sports technology across media, technology, betting, and team performance. By leveraging unparalleled artificial intelligence, they have revolutionized sports data, adapting to the dynamic nature of sports. Their analysis of Rugby World Cup data encompasses 6 distinct areas that highlight the evolution of the game since 1987. These are the following: more ball in play time, the set piece, scrums and LINEOUTS plummeted, getting physical, tackles, carries and RUCKS soared, in the box seat, the kicking game, playing the percentages and trading places, forwards and backs. Let's look at each of these 6 areas in more detail. Firstly, increased ball in play time. An evident change is the increase of ball in play time over the years. Looking at the tournament in 8-year periods, the 1987 and 95 editions both saw less than 30 minutes ball in play time. Notably, the 1995 Rugby World Cup saw a mere 25 minutes and 45 seconds of ball in play time, while the 2019 edition saw 34 minutes and 21 seconds, representing a remarkable 33% surge. This defies the misconception that the modern game is marred by ponderous set pieces, and showcasing the heightened pace and action of the modern game. Secondly, decline of set pieces, scrums and LINEOUTS. Discussion often centered around the time spent on set pieces, particularly scrums. In earlier Rugby World Cup editions, scrums primarily served as a means of restarting the game, in stark contrast to the longer and more tactical process it has become in the modern game. Interestingly, the number of scrums and LINEOUTS in early World Cup tournaments led to a reduction in overall play time. The inaugural tournament averaged 77 scrums or LINEOUTS per game, nearly twice the number seen in the most recent tournament, which was 39 scrums or LINEOUTS. Another clear trend from the data shows the consistent increase in LINEOUT success rate. From 1987 to 1995, between 68% and 73% of all LINEOUTS were retained by the team throwing in. A rate that jumped to 82% in 1999, just after lifting had been legalized. Since the 1999 edition, LINEOUT success rate has remained at 80% or above, peaking in 2019 at 91%. Scrums have seen changes too, but the success rates have remained relatively consistent over time. Repeated tweaks to the laws at scrum time could go a long way to explain why the number of scrum penalties per game both has risen and fallen over the years, with World Rugby trying to create safer and quicker scrums while still maintaining a fight for possession. At number 3, physicality amplified, tackles, carries and rucks. The evolution of players' physicality echoes the evolution of the game itself. The average present-day player is weighing as much as or more than a heavy player in the 1980s and early 1990s. Modern players also boast greater fitness levels, allowing for high-intensity games with longer periods of continuous play. This has had a direct knock-on effect on the product we see on the pitch. In the pre-professional Rugby World Cup area, the average team made 134 combined carries and tackles per game, a stark contrast to the last 2 editions where teams made well over 200 in the average in each match. Similarly, the total number of rucks in the game has risen dramatically, with the breakdown becoming a major focus in today's game. During the 2019 Rugby World Cup, Maro Otojo's total of 66 rucks against New Zealand in a semi-final was the most any player made in a match at that tournament. His individual effort was more than the average of both teams combined during an entire game in 1987 and 1991, and greater than the average number of rucks made by individual teams in both 1995 and 1999. Tackle success rates have also risen over the course of the 9 editions of the Rugby World Cup. The inaugural edition seeing 70% of attempted tackles completed, peaking at 88% in 2011 and remaining well above 80% since. Again, increases in the size and physicality of players could partly explain the improvements in this area. There are fewer mismatches in modern day rugby. Faster and fitter forwards make it harder for backs to exploit gaps in the defensive line, while bigger and stronger backs make it more difficult for forwards to run over the top of them. Defensive systems have improved too, helping defenders to come out on top more often than before, utilizing greater line speed to snuff out early attacks and improving general organization within open play. At number 4, let's have a look how the kicking game has changed from 1987 to today. The tactical dimension of the kicking game has undergone significant alterations. While territory kicks dominated earlier tournaments, their prevalence has diminished, comprising less than a third of all kicks. Box kicking has seen the most dramatic rise over the course of the Rugby World Cup. In 1987, 1 in every 20 kicks could be classified as a box kick, compared to almost a quarter of all kicks in the tournament in Japan. Hanging the ball high from the base of a ruck or a maul, or a scrum with an organized chase is now a popular method, allowing wingers time to contest the ball and defensive systems to get organized, snuffing out any potential counter-attacks early. At number 5, the calculated approach, playing the percentages. Teams have increasingly adopted the lower risk style of play, evident in the reduced offloads and contact passes. The inaugural World Cup saw 30 offloads per match, double the total of the 2019 tournament, and passes out of contact have declined almost every year, except for a slight resurgence in 2011. This risk-averse approach corresponds with fewer turnovers conceded per game. The total turnovers conceded in the 2019 Rugby World Cup was almost half of the 1987 edition, though this has remained steady since 2007. The lower number of turnovers has had an effect on the number of possession in an average match, as well as the average number of phases in a possession. In 1987, there were over 130 separate possessions in a match, due largely to the high number of turnovers, with teams going through 1.4 phases on average before their possession ended. Total possessions per game have steadily come down since 1987, although with a slight increase between 2011 and 2019. The average number of phases per possession has continued to rise in this time, suggesting that the increased ball in play time, over 2 minutes extra, has allowed for more possession to take place before the final whistle. Lastly, at number 6, the forwards and backs evolution, trading places. Forwards win matches, backs decide by how much, is the old adage. But has this become more or less true over the years? To test this series, Stats Perform looked at how the role of the forwards has evolved by viewing their stats as a proportion of the overall team totals. Forward contributions to carries have grown, although this has been accompanied by a decrease in meters gained and clean breaks. This suggests that in earlier editions of the Rugby World Cup, the forwards were more likely to try and get the ball to the pacier backs, a theory that is backed up by the fact that forwards average a greater proportion of their team passes in earlier tournaments. It is interesting to note that while forwards have made a greater share of carries in recent years, their meters and clean breaks have fallen. This suggests that members of the forward pack are carrying into contact more often, making it harder to gain meters and make breaks, but could also explain the rise in defenders beaten, with the forwards often able to shake off 1 or 2 would-be tacklers before going to ground. In conclusion, rugby union has undergone a profound evolution since the first World Cup in 1987. The contemporary game is marked by enhanced quality, heightened physicality, improved fitness, increased speed, more attack kicking, and what's more, there is more action and fewer stoppages than ever before. Please comment below whether you agree with the above analysis, and if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more rugby content. Cheers.